Revealed. My pilot son's heartwarming call about an unexpected passenger who changed everything. Melissa wiped down the last of the diner tables, her calloused hands barely feeling the damp cloth as a familiar vibration pulled her attention to her phone. It was Jake. Her heart raced with excitement and a hint of worry. It had been a long day. She answered, his voice bursting through the receiver like sunlight breaking through a thick cloud. Mom, you won't believe the day I had. His enthusiasm was infectious. Jake had just completed his first solo flight as an airline pilot, and Melissa could practically hear the pride swelling in his chest. As he recounted the day, she felt every ounce of that immense joy, remembering years of sacrifices made for moments like this. Yet a tinge of fear gnawed at her. What of the mounting bills back home? As the weight of the world pressed down on her shoulders, she listened intently. On my last leg, I met this incredible man, Mr. Thompson. He's a war veteran, Jake said, a newfound reverence in his voice. We talked for hours in the sky. He opened up about losing his wife and the loneliness that settled in after. The air filled with silence as Melissa's heart ached for the older man. Her own loneliness echoed in the distance, reminding her of countless nights spent soothing her children's fears while masking her own. What did he say? She prompted, leaning in closer, as if the walls of the diner might absorb some of this precious encounter. Mom, he started this charity for veterans coming home. Something about giving them hope in the darkness. It really got to me, Jake continued, his voice quivering. He made me think about how easy it is to forget those who need us. He inspired me to do more, to give back. Tears prickled Melissa's eyes, not just for Jake's burgeoning compassion, but also for the weight that had begun to lift off her heart. Memories of struggling balancing shifts at the diner, stressing over bills, and yet the feeling of immense pride when hugging her children, warmed her from within. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Melissa's heart raced again as she felt the contours of their lives shifting. Her son wanted to uplift others, to be the beacon of hope that Mr. Thompson was for him. Yet part of her feared the energy it took to climb out of their struggles could leave him distant. Jake, she hesitated. I've been trying to keep everything afloat, but it's getting harder. I know, Mom. I'm here for you. I want to help. The resolve in his voice sent a wave of comfort through her. As the conversation flowed, both mother and son pondered the intertwining paths of regret, love, and the aching desire for connection. Little did they know, Mr. Thompson's charity was on the brink of becoming a lifeline for families like theirs, ready to bridge the divides that threatened to fracture them. As they closed the call, both felt the warmth of purpose ignite anew, unaware of the journey ahead, a reunion where healing, kindness, and the undeniable power of family awaited. Would the kindness of a stranger pave the path towards a light that could illuminate their darkest fears? The morning sunlight streamed through the window as Melissa placed the last of the dishes into the drying rack. It was a new day, but the weight of yesterday still rested on her shoulders. The thought of Jake's determination to help others resonated within her like a gentle echo. Perhaps it was time to let go of some of her burdens. She poured herself a cup of lukewarm coffee and sat at the small kitchen table, staring out at the world passing by outside. The street was coming alive, kids on bikes, neighbors chatting, the usual hum of life. It reminded her that the world was big and full of possibilities, even if they felt a million miles away. The morning passed, but her mind remained entangled in thoughts about Jake and Mr. Thompson. What could she do to help her son? What kind of support did veterans like Mr. Thompson truly need? Inspired, she pulled out her laptop, fingers poised over the keys. Maybe she could start researching local charities, see how they operated, and find a place where she could contribute. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Jake. Mom, I'm meeting Mr. Thompson again today. I want to bring him something special from home, maybe some pictures of the community. Would you help me? Her heart fluttered at his enthusiasm. Of course, I'd love to help, she replied, excitement bubbling in her chest. They talked later that day, strategizing what they could put together. We can focus on the good memories here, Jake suggested, a hint of joy in his voice. I think it'll mean a lot to him, knowing he has not forgotten. Exactly, Melissa agreed, her spirits lifting. Let us make it personal. Photos of the diner, the kids, the backyard. He needs to see he's part of something bigger. That evening, as Melissa sifted through old pictures, she felt a sense of purpose bloom within her. Each snapshot brought back stories of laughter, family dinners, and sweet moments that formed their lives. She found a picture of Jake at 5, wearing a cape and standing tall, pretending to be a superhero. She chuckled, sending that one to him as they collaborated. The connection between mother and son deepened. They were no longer just navigating their individual struggles but creating something beautiful together. Hours faded into the night, and Melissa couldn't shake the excitement of their plan. It felt like they were on the brink of change, not just for Mr. Thompson but for themselves. Helping someone else could be the key to healing their own hearts, to lifting the fog of their daily battles. Mom, I can't thank you enough, Jake said, breaking her reverie as he called later that night. This might be the spark I needed to get involved full-time. Tears of joy filled her eyes. I'm just so proud of you, Jake. Both of us really need this. But as they talked, Melissa couldn't help but wonder what this journey would require from them. Would they truly have the strength to embrace a new mission? As she settled into bed that night, thoughts swirling like autumn leaves, an unexpected knock at the door sent a jolt through her. A heavy pounding rhythm, filled with urgency, broke the tranquil atmosphere. Who could it be at this hour? With her heart racing in her chest, she quietly made her way toward the door. Behind it could lie answers, revelations, or more challenges. Would this knock open a door to new beginnings or shatter the fragile hope they had begun to build? Melissa's heart thudded in her chest as she took a deep breath, gripping the doorknob tightly. The air felt charged, thick with anticipation. She swung the door open, revealing a tall figure outlined against the streetlight. It was Officer Daniels, one of the local police officers, looking somber yet steadfast. Good evening, Mrs. Parker, he said softly, his voice a mix of urgency and compassion. Is Jake home? It's important. Panic surged through her. Why would the police be looking for Jake? The worst scenarios flashed through her mind. No, he's out, she admitted, her voice trembling. What happened? Is he okay? Officer Daniels hesitated for a moment, searching her eyes. I can't discuss details without him. But I assure you, he is not in any immediate danger. The reassurance did little to calm the storm swirling inside her. Please just tell me, Melissa urged, her fear morphing into a desperate plea. There was an incident downtown involving Mr. Thompson. Jake may want to know. You might want to contact him. The officer's face remained serious as he glanced away, the weight of his words settling heavily in the air between them. Melissa felt the world tilt beneath her feet. She turned abruptly, her mind racing with what could have happened to Mr. Thompson. She stumbled back to the kitchen, her fingers shaking as she fumbled to find her phone. Jake picked up on the first ring. Hey Mom. I'm about to show Mr. Thompson those pictures. His voice was bright and lively. Her heart hurt at the vivid contrast to the situation she found herself in. Jake, stop. I need you to come home now. It's about Mr. Thompson. There was a brief pause on the other end, filled with the silent connection only they shared. Mom, what is going on? His tone shifted, worry creeping in. Just come home. Please. She felt guilty for sounding so frantic, but the unease in her stomach demanded an answer. Okay, I'm on my way, he said, urgency pulling at his voice. Melissa hung up and paced the narrow kitchen, thoughts spiraling. Why would something happen to Mr. Thompson? Hadn't they just decided to reach out to make a difference? She glanced at the photos scattered over the table, each one a testament to the dreams they had for Mr. Thompson and themselves. Moments later, the front door squeaked open. Jake rushed in, his face flushed, eyes wide. What happened? His breath came fast, each syllable etched with fear and confusion. Sit, Melissa said. She could barely keep her voice steady. Officer Daniels said there was an incident. She recounted the minimal details he had shared, watching Jake's face contort with concern. What was it? Is he hurt? I should have been there. Jake's voice was sharp, filled with a mix of panic and frustration. I don't know, sweetheart. But we need to find out, Melissa said, feeling every beat of hope battling with despair. She reached for his hand, trying to connect. "We can do this together." The two stood facing each other, a silent understanding growing. It was more than just finding out what happened to Mr. Thompson. It meant they needed to navigate the chaos together. "Let us go see him," Jake said suddenly, determination flashing in his eyes. "He is our friend. He should know we're here." Taking a deep breath, Melissa nodded, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. She knew there would be moments that tested their strength and resilience, moments that could either unlock new beginnings or shatter their growing hope. As they stepped out into the cool night air, she grasped her son's shoulder, feeling the warmth and steadiness radiating from him. The path ahead was uncertain, but they were ready to face it side by side. But as they climbed into the car, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger journey. What would they discover when they reached Mr. Thompson? Would it bring them closer or push them further apart? The drive to the hospital felt like an eternity. The usual streets were now shrouded in shadows, the streetlights casting flickering halos against their windshield. Melissa's hands tightened around the steering wheel, her knuckles pale against the dark wood. "Mom, what do you think happened?" Jake's voice broke through the silence, filled with a mix of dread and hope. Melissa glanced at him, searching for words. "I don't know, Jake, but we'll find out." His gaze drifted out the window, the world outside a blur of colors and movement. She could see the tension radiating from him, felt it vibrate in the air between them. It mirrored her own unease as they pulled into the hospital parking lot. Anxiety settled heavily in her chest. The bright lights of the entrance illuminated the long hallway that seemed to stretch endlessly. She parked the car but didn't move. Instead, she turned to face her son. "Jake," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Whatever happens, we face it together." He nodded firmly, determination lighting up his features. They stepped into the reception area, the faint buzz of conversations and rolling chairs peppering the air. One of the nurses glanced over, a warm smile breaking through the tense atmosphere. "Can I help you?" "We're looking for Mr. Thompson," Melissa breathed out, the name heavy on her tongue. "Room 204, the nurse replied, her voice soft. "He is stable." Melissa felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was quickly tempered with uncertainty. What had led to his situation? Why was he admitted? Jake was already moving down the corridor, his steps quick and purposeful. As they approached room 204, every heartbeat felt like a countdown. She reached out and squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his unwavering spirit. Pushing the door open, they entered. The room was dimly lit, the sound of machines beeping softly in the background. There, lying on the bed, was Mr. Thompson. He looked fragile, a stark contrast to the vibrant man they had come to know. His head was bandaged, and he was unconscious. Melissa's heart ached as she stepped closer, barely able to breathe. Jake moved beside her, his eyes wide with shock and hurt. "Mr. Thompson," he called softly, but there was no response. "Is he okay?" Jake whispered, eyes brimming with tears. "I don't know, sweetie," she replied, her voice shaky. "He is getting the care he needs." But even as she said it, doubts crept in. What had happened to him? Was he beaten or just in a freak accident? The thoughts surged like a storm inside her. Suddenly, the sound of the door opening jolted them from their thoughts. A doctor stepped in, a somber expression on his face. "Are you family?" he asked, taking in both Melissa and Jake. "No, but we're friends," Jake stated fiercely. "What happened to Mr. Thompson?" The doctor took a deep breath and glanced at Mr. Thompson's still form. "He was attacked downtown, a robbery gone wrong. He is stable, but we need to keep monitoring him closely." Melissa's breath caught in her throat. "Attacked? Why?" "He was just helping us," the doctor's gaze softened. "Unfortunately, sometimes good intentions can lead to dark outcomes. However, he is a fighter. We believe he will recover." Jake's face tightened with emotion, and he turned to look at Melissa. "We need to stay with him, Mom. He shouldn't be alone." Before Melissa could respond, the doctor interrupted. "You can stay if you wish. But for now, let us give him some space." Tears slipped down Jake's cheeks as he stepped closer to Mr. Thompson's bed. "We're here for you, Mr. Thompson. You're not alone." Melissa watched them, her heart breaking yet swelling with pride. In that moment, she saw the depth of her son's heart. Jake had already turned into someone who understood the powerful connections in life, connections that could withstand even the harshest storms. As the doctor stepped outside to give them a moment, Jake took his father's baseball cap off and pressed it into Mr. Thompson's hand, a soothing gesture. "We're gonna make things right, I promise." Melissa felt the surge of hope mixing with the need to protect her son. But as they stood there, she knew the ordeal was just beginning. What other challenges lay ahead in the fight for Mr. Thompson? "Mom, what if we can't make things right?" Jake asked suddenly, his voice broken and raw. The weight of his question hung in the air, a heavy realization of the journey they had begun. As the lights of the hospital flickered above them, Melissa felt something surge within her. "Then we fight for him as hard as we can." But in that moment, she realized, it wasn't just about fighting for Mr. Thompson. It was about understanding the fragility of life and connection. Would that understanding change everything for them? The answer felt distant, but as Jake squeezed her hand tightly, she knew they would face it together, whatever it turned out to be. What would they learn from this experience and from each other before it was all over? Jake's eyes were fixed on Mr. Thompson, the silence in the room heavy with unspoken fears. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors created a strange backdrop to the turmoil swirling in their hearts. Each beep felt like a reminder of time that could heal or take away. "Mom?" His voice was barely above a whisper, but it pierced through her thoughts. What if he doesn't wake up? Melissa knelt beside him, gathering her strength. "If he doesn't wake up today, we'll keep waiting. That's what we do for people we love." She squeezed his shoulder, trying to shake off her own worries and replace them with determination. Jake wiped at his tears, shaking his head as if angry with himself for feeling so helpless. It pained her to see him like this. He was just a kid, resilient and brave. Yet this moment stripped away some of his innocence. "He helped us so much, Mom. He always believed in me and us." Melissa felt the warmth of his words wrap around her heart. Mr. Thompson had been more than just a neighbor. He had been a mentor, a guide for Jake. She longed to change the reality of the situation, to bring back the man who had brought so much light into their lives. The door creaked open and the doctor returned, his expression more relaxed. "I wanted to check on you both. How are you holding up?" Jake took a deep breath. "We're okay. Is he going to be all right?" The doctor nodded slowly. "Yes, a tough one, but recovery will take time. He is stable, and we'll keep monitoring his vitals closely. But it's going to be a journey." Melissa felt her heart race at his words. A journey. It sounded daunting, like climbing a mountain with no end in sight. "What can we do?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "You can talk to him. Sometimes hearing familiar voices can work wonders," the doctor said. Offering a gentle smile, Jake turned to Mr. Thompson, his face serious. "Mr. Thompson, I'm Jake. We've been planning to do that baseball tournament together. Remember? You promised to help me practice." Melissa watched as Jake's innocence took over. He continued to speak about the tournament, their shared excitement vibrating through the room, as if their hopes could somehow penetrate the silence surrounding the bed. Minutes turned into hours. They shared stories not just of their hopes, but of painful moments too. Melissa spoke of how much Mr. Thompson meant to their community, how he had always gone above and beyond. She mentioned how he once helped direct traffic when a storm flooded the streets, calming nerves with his gentle smile. "Remember the Halloween party last year?" Jake recalled. "You came dressed as a giant pumpkin, and everyone laughed so hard." As he spoke, Melissa noticed a flicker of movement from Mr. Thompson's eyelids. She held her breath, her heart pounding. "Jake, look. Mr. Thompson, can you hear us?" Jake's voice rose with both hope and excitement, but there was silence. The doctor walked back in, noting the commotion. "What is happening?" "His eyelids, I think he moved," Jake exclaimed. The doctor stepped closer, observing carefully. "It might just be reflex, but let us monitor." As they waited, a nurse entered with a tray of fresh supplies. "Just doing my rounds." "Hang in there," she said, her voice warm and soothing. "He can feel your energy, you know." Melissa smiled weakly at her, grateful for the reassurance. "Mom, if Mr. Thompson wakes up, do you think he'll remember everything? Will he be okay?" Jake asked, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. She was struck by the weight of his question. Would Mr. Thompson return to the man they knew? Would their lives ever be the same again? "I hope so, Jake. But even if everything grows difficult, we stand by him. That's what friends do. Jake absorbed her words, the determination in her voice reassuring him, fueling the fire within him. Yeah, we will, Mom. We'll fight for him. The door swung open again, and a familiar voice echoed inside. Well, if it isn't my favorite baseball coach and his loyal fan. Jake spun around, eyes wide. Mr. Thompson? A gasp escaped Melissa's lips as she witnessed the unexpected sight of Mr. Thompson's eyes fluttering open, meeting theirs with a confused yet familiar warmth. But with this miracle came a new question. What could he tell them of that fateful night? Are you ready for me to share what really happened? He whispered weakly, barely audible. Melissa's heart raced, the uncertainty of those words hanging in the air like fog. Would his truth shatter the brief hope that was blooming amidst the pain? Mr. Thompson's voice was a mere echo, fragile yet tenacious, and his eyes held a mix of clarity and confusion. It felt as if the room had shifted, gravity pulling at their hearts in new ways. Melissa leaned closer, straining to catch every word, every sliver of light that could spill from him. Mr. Thompson, please, Jake's voice trembled. There was a desperate eagerness in his eyes, the same eagerness he showed when he spoke about baseball. Tell us what happened. The doctor stepped forward, positioning himself between the bed and Melissa and Jake. Let us keep this brief, Mr. Thompson. You've been through a lot. Just focus on what you feel up to sharing. But the urgency in Jake's eyes couldn't be contained. They needed answers. He's the strongest person we know. He can handle it, Jake insisted, his youthful resilience shimmering through the fear. Mr. Thompson nodded slightly, as if gathering his strength for what lay ahead. I remember the impact of the crash. Everything happened so fast. 1 minute I was just driving home, and then everything changed. His voice was a soft whisper, thick with emotions that seeped through the words. Melissa clutched Jake's hand tighter, her pulse quickening. With each word, she felt the world outside come rushing in echoes of sirens, shadows shifting in the periphery. Did you see anyone? She asked softly, hesitant yet compelled to learn more. Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed. I saw a light like a flicker just before he paused, his eyes flickering with the weight of memories. There was a person in the other car. What happened to them? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper, thick with fear. The driver. They were injured, but he hesitated, the weight of his next words holding a heavy pause. They were trying to help me. I remember reaching for my phone and then everything went dark. They saved my life at least. The truth unfurled slowly, and in that moment, a bond of shared purpose formed in the room. He could have died, Mom. If that person hadn't been there. Jake's eyes shimmered, grappling with the weight of gratitude laced with the dread of what could have been. Exactly, Mr. Thompson whispered, his voice cracking. Could have been so much worse, Jake. But the truth is, I don't even know their name. Melissa swallowed hard, torn between relief that Mr. Thompson was alive and the heavy cloud of unanswered questions. We have to find them, she said suddenly, that fierce determination rising in her. They deserve to know they saved you. Jake nodded vigorously, fully on board. We will. We can ask the hospital, check the reports. He leaned closer to Mr. Thompson. They should be recognized for what they did. A flicker of a smile crossed Mr. Thompson's face, and Melissa couldn't help but smile back, even as her heart still shook with fear. They were standing at the edge of a growing mystery, a mission that might unite the fragments of their lives and deepen the bonds of love and gratitude between them all. Thank you for believing in me, believing I would come back, Mr. Thompson said, heart swelling at the warmth in their eyes. That belief, it changes everything. Tears prickled at the corners of Melissa's eyes, but this moment felt light with promise. Just as she was about to speak, the door swung open again, and the nurse walked in with a clipboard. I came to check on you all. Any changes? A new kind of hope glimmered in Jake's eyes. Yes, Mr. Thompson is awake and wants to find the person who helped him. The nurse paused and her face softened with understanding, but a practical expression settled as she began to scribble something down on her clipboard. That might take some time, but I can help. We'll start by reviewing the accident reports. Don't lose hope. As the nurse continued, Melissa and Jake exchanged glances full of determination. They weren't just waiting any longer. They were stepping forward. Mr. Thompson, Jake began carefully, Do you think they might want to meet us? The question hung in the air, a complex web of uncertainty and yearning that needed untangling. But before Mr. Thompson could respond, a new voice pierced through the veil of the moment, brimming with tension. "Excuse me, have any of you seen a man in a blue jacket? He just stepped out of the hospital, and I'm looking for him." Melissa's heart sank. Who was this new person, and how were they connected to the unfolding story? Would they take the answers they sought in a different direction entirely? The door swung wider, revealing a young man who looked as if he had just run a marathon. His hair was tousled and beads of sweat dotted his forehead as he scanned the room, his eyes filled with an anxious urgency. He was clutching his phone tightly. "Did you see him? A man in a blue jacket?" he repeated, breathless. "I think he just came out," and his voice trailed off as he caught sight of Mr. Thompson. Almost instinctively, Jake straightened, pulling away from Mr. Thompson's bedside. "Are you looking for Mr. Thompson?" The young man nodded, stepping forward slowly as if he was afraid of disturbing the fragile atmosphere. "I'm Lucas. I was the one in the other car," he said, his voice a shade quieter now. Shock rippled through Melissa and Jake. The person they were looking for was standing right in front of them. Hope blossomed alongside an undercurrent of fear. Would Lucas feel the same connection to the moment? "Mr. Thompson," Lucas continued, swallowing hard. "I wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm really sorry. I didn't know you were still here." Mr. Thompson struggled to sit up straighter, his face softened by the surprise and warmth flooding his emotions. "Lucas, I didn't expect to see you." Gratitude choked his words. Melissa's heart raced. This felt monumental. "You were the one who helped him? After the crash?" Lucas nodded slowly, his eyes darting between them. "I just did what I could. I didn't even think. I saw you were hurt, and I tried to get you help." Jake's eyes sparkled and he stepped closer, awe written all over his face. "You saved him. You risked your life." "Thank you." But there was something unsteady about Lucas. His gaze dropped to the floor. "No, I shouldn't have been driving. I was distracted. I was so careless." The weight of self-reproach in Lucas's voice was palpable, a shadow creeping over the newfound light in the room. Melissa stepped forward, instinctively reassuring him. "This isn't about blame. You showed incredible courage. You saved Mr. Thompson." Lucas met her gaze, searching for reassurance. "But what if I hadn't?" In that moment, Mr. Thompson's strength broke through. "You were there when I needed someone most. It was a fluke. Life is unpredictable. What matters is that you did your best." The atmosphere shifted again, a fragile dance between gratitude and turmoil. Each word exchanged was a thread weaving their lives closer together. Yet doubts lingered, threatening to unravel the fabric of this new connection. "Can we sit?" Lucas asked, his face softening slightly. "I need to know how you are, really. I need to understand what almost happened, what it means." Jake glanced back at Melissa, a whirl of emotions flickering behind his eyes. "Yes, we can talk. That's why we're here. Let us all just share." As they settled into the uncertainty of the moment, Jake took a deep breath. "We need to know how this changed you, Mr. Thompson. We need to know how it changed everyone." Silence enveloped them, but it felt alive with possibility. The four of them together, strangers bound by an event that would forever define their lives. Just then the nurse returned, the clipboard snug under her arm. She glanced between them, her expression revealing nothing but professionalism. "I have some forms for you to fill out, Mr. Thompson, and it looks like we might need to discuss follow-up plans. Are you feeling up to it?" Before anyone could answer, Lucas took a step back, eyes wide. "What plans? Is he leaving?" Mr. Thompson shook his head. "I can't leave yet. Not without knowing everyone is all right." His voice quivered, filled with depth and concern. Melissa squeezed Jake's hand tightly, and her heart raced again. There was the potential for healing here. But the journey was far from over. Just as hope flickered brightly within them, the weighty atmosphere returned. What would each of them discover about themselves? And when the dust settled, would they be able to face what lay ahead together? But even as questions hung in the air, something even bigger shadows their lives. Could this scary intersection of fate lead to something beautiful, or would it shatter them into even smaller pieces? Lucas took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling as if he were trying to gather the shattered pieces of his composure. I don't understand how all of this happened, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The room felt heavy, swaying between silence and the gravity of their shared secrets. I get that, Jake said softly, stepping closer to Lucas. We're all still processing it. We've all been through a storm together. His eyes flicked to Mr. Thompson, the man laying there, a living testament to the chaos they had faced. What's the plan then? Lucas asked, his tone shifting between desperation and hope. How do we move forward from this? Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, and although weak, his voice held an authority that cut through the tension. We talk. We share our stories, what we remember, what we felt. It's the only way to start rebuilding from this. Melissa nodded, her heart swelling with a mix of admiration and affection for the man who had shown so much grace, even in a hospital bed. We all have lives that intersected at a really crazy moment. It's important to acknowledge that. As they settled into this intimate space, each person seemed to find their voice. I was at a breaking point that day, Lucas confessed, leaning in as if confiding a secret. I had this fight with my brother earlier. We never get along and I was just frustrated. I took my eyes off the road for a split second, and then it all went black. Melissa felt a pang in her chest. I didn't know that. We all have stories that shape our choices. It's not just you. She looked at Mr. Thompson, her voice shaking slightly. I was lost too, thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if I hadn't gotten to him in time? Lucas raised his gaze, seeing her clearly for the first time. But you did. You got him the help he needed. If things were different, if that crash hadn't happened, I wonder how many lives could have been changed. Mr. Thompson wore a faint smile, the lines of his face somehow softening. We can't live in the what-ifs, Lucas. Life doesn't work that way. It's painful, sure, but those moments, the connections, they're precious. It's all part of the journey. In that moment, each of them felt the flicker of hope rekindled. They were survivors in this shared experience, even in the face of turmoil. The nurse returned, bringing an air of practicality, but also a reminder of the reality outside this bubble of healing. Mr. Thompson, I need your signature on these forms, she said, breaking their spell for a moment. And perhaps you'd like to discuss options for your rehabilitation? Lucas's expression turned serious again. We'll be here for you, Mr. Thompson. You're not alone in this. Mr. Thompson's eyes sparkled with gratitude. Thank you, both of you. I can see now that we're part of something bigger. You've both shown me that the bonds we create even amidst chaos can lead us to strength and healing. As the nurse guided Mr. Thompson's attention back to paperwork and logistics, Lucas and Melissa slipped into a chatter of their own, sharing lighter stories between moments of deep silence. They laughed, nervous but finding comfort in these emerging connections that filled the space where fear once clung. But the shadows of doubt lingered, whispering questions as Mr. Thompson shifted to stand firm, ready to face whatever came next. Would this newfound bond withstand the tests ahead? Could they truly grow from their harrowing experiences, or were they still teetering on the edge of something far more complicated? As the chatter faded, a branching path appeared before them, shadowed but glimmering with possibility. And just when they thought clarity might take hold, Lucas's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. The sound reverberated through the room, and Lucas's face paled. What now? He murmured, a looming heaviness on his brow, knowing something was amiss. A calmness fell upon them all, tension brewing as they wondered what news might come next, the kind that could either forge their ties deeper or unravel it all. Lucas pulled his phone from his pocket, his hands trembling slightly as he glanced at the screen. The name flashing across it sent a jolt of uncertainty through him. His brother Jake. They hadn't spoken in weeks. Not since the fight that had led Lucas to take that split-second glance away from the road. He hesitated, heart racing. What did he want? Did he even want to pick up? As the phone rang out, the tension in the room thickened, each eye on him. Jake and Melissa exchanged worried glances, sensing the unease radiating from Lucas. With a deep breath, Lucas swiped to answer. Hello? His voice was strained, a fragile thread holding together all the hurt. Hey, Lucas? His brother's voice sounded different, more exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. I've been trying to reach you, I wanted to talk. Lucas's stomach nodded. About what? The past? We can't just rewind time, Jake. No, it's not about that. There was a pause, and Lucas could hear the shaky breath on the other end. It's about the accident. I just found out you're not alone. What do you mean? Lucas felt a chill crawl up his spine, his world spiraling under the weight of old wounds. What did you hear? There's someone who was there. Someone at the hospital. Someone who witnessed the crash. Jake's voice broke slightly. I know we've had our issues, but you need to listen to me. This person might have information that changes everything for both of us. I don't want you to think I'm not with you. The silence that followed felt like a thunderous storm, echoing with unspoken words. Lucas held the phone tighter, each pulse of his heart echoing in his ears. The walls around them seemed to close in, tightening around this new surge of fear. Melissa reached out, her hand brushing against his arm, grounding him. He looked at her, his panic reflected in her concerned eyes. What do you want me to do, Jake? Lucas asked, trying to keep his voice steady. I need you to meet me at the hospital. I can't say more over the phone, but please, Lucas. This could change everything, Jake pleaded. With a shaky breath, Lucas nodded, even though he knew Jake couldn't see him. Okay, I'll be there. As he hung up, the air in the room shifted. What did he say? Melissa asked, her voice breaking the silence, but Lucas knew the question lingered in the throats of all three of them. Jake said he found someone who witnessed the crash, Lucas replied, his voice barely a whisper, the gravity of it settling over him like a heavy fog. He wants me to meet him at the hospital. Mr. Thompson, still focused on the paperwork, looked up, a newfound intensity in his gaze. This could be important. You can't ignore it. It could be the key to understanding what happened. But will it help us? Jake interjected, his brow furrowing. What if it only brings more questions? Lucas glanced at both of them. In that moment, uncertainty faded into resolve. He had started to build bonds in this fragile space woven from shared pain. But now a thread of hope and perhaps a thread of confusion was about to be tested. I feel like I need to know, he said finally, his voice steadier, filled with a quiet determination. But I can't go alone. The three of them looked at each other, the unspoken support hanging thick in the air. They had faced stormy seas together, and while new waves were forming on the horizon, something told Lucas that he wasn't alone anymore. Melissa squeezed his hand. Then we go together. As they prepared to leave, a sense of anticipation laced with fear wrapped around them. They were about to delve deeper into the unknown, past layers of guilt and questions. Life had twisted them into something they never expected, but together, they would seek the truth. But as they stepped into the bright hallway, a sudden realization hit Lucas hard. What if digging deeper uncovered more than just the truth? What if it forced them to confront emotions they tried to bury? With their hearts pounding and hope flickering like a candle in the wind, they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to unearth revelations that could alter not just their past but their very future. Would this be the moment where everything shifted? Or would it break the delicate threads they had just begun to weave? The air in the hospital was thick with a blend of apprehension and anticipation, as Lucas, Melissa, Jake and Mr. Thompson found themselves standing at a crossroads of their lives. Each step they took filled the lobby with a steady rhythm of hope that the truths waiting ahead would not only clarify the chaos but heal the scars still fresh from that harrowing night. As they entered the waiting area, the familiarity of bustling conversations and the sound of wheels rolling over linoleum floors wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. People came and went, each carrying stories of their own challenges, but right now it felt like the universe had aligned their paths for a reason. Lucy, it's time to face the truth, Jake said, determination lighting his eyes. We've come this far together. There's no turning back now. He looked over at Melissa and Mr. Thompson, then back to Lucas. We're here for each other. Even amidst the chaos, Lucas felt a renewed strength swell within him. He realized that regardless of the obstacles ahead, they were not facing them as individuals anymore. They were a united front, ready to confront whatever lay waiting. They approached the desk, a nurse behind it scanning through patient records. Can I help you? She asked, her tone warm yet professional. We're here to meet Jake, Lucas replied, his heart racing. My brother, he said he found someone who witnessed, the accident. The nurse's expression shifted, understanding dawning in her eyes. Let me check. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, and an awkward pause filled the air as they waited. Just as Lucas was battling a whirlwind of emotions, his phone buzzed in his pocket. As he glanced at the screen, he saw Jake's name. Hey, he answered, feeling the tension tighten in his chest. It's not just about the accident, Jake said on the other end, urgency ushering his words. You need to prepare yourself. The witness they could help clear everything up, but some parts may be hard to hear. Lucas's heart sank with the weight of unknowing. What do you mean? Just be ready, okay? I'll explain more when I get there, Jake replied, concern lacing his voice. As he hung up, Lucas felt the knot tightening, and the atmosphere shifted, becoming heavier almost like a judgment day was arriving. The nurse returned once more, a reassuring smile crossing her face. I found Jake. He.S. waiting at the consultation room. Follow me. They moved through the hallway, the fluorescent lights overhead casting a stark glow on their faces. With every step, the uncertainty mounted, but so did the determination to be there for one another. Eventually, they arrived at the consultation room. Time seemed to stretch as they all exchanged an anxious glance, then pushed the door open inside. Jake stood next to a woman in her 40s, her whole demeanor radiating warmth but shadowed by some inner turmoil. As their eyes met, sorrow and empathy flitted across her features. I'm glad you all could come, she began, her voice a soothing balm against the sharp edges of worry. Are you the witness? Lucas asked, the question tumbling out before he could tame it. Yes, I am. My name's Lisa, she replied gently. I didn't know how to reach out until now. But I witnessed everything that happened that night as she shared her story. Each word felt like a ripple through the air, pulling them deep into a complex tapestry of circumstances. I was at that intersection. I saw your car hit Mr. Thompson's. I rushed to help, but I was terrified of what I might find. Her recounting took shape, each detail painfully vivid. The world around them faded as they hung onto her words, the gravity of the moment bearing down on them. Lucas's heart raced, and he fought against the wave of emotions crashing over him. I was driving too fast, she continued, her voice trembling. I had just left a difficult argument with my husband. I wasn't present, she said, tears filling her eyes. But when I saw Mr. Thompson, something clicked. I called 911 and I held his hand, reminding him to hang in there. As she spoke, Lucas saw the depth of her remorse and the courage it took to confront the pain that had lingered because of a single moment, one split-second decision, that had altered the trajectories of their lives. Your actions that night may have saved his life, Jake said, the weight of his words hanging in the air. We owe you our gratitude. But I don't deserve gratitude, Lisa whispered, her voice breaking. I was part of the chaos. Chaos can lead to healing, Mr. Thompson interjected, his voice steady. It's about how we come together to create light afterward. You got involved when it mattered most. Touched by his words, tears streamed down Lisa's face. I had no idea how much it would hurt. I'm so sorry it turned out this way. I never meant to endanger anyone. It was a moment woven with vulnerability, guilt, and a search for understanding. But as Lucas looked around at the faces of the people who had come together through it all, he understood how resilience was born from sharing these burdens. In that small room, forgiveness unfurled its wings as they shared their stories. Lucas, Jake, Melissa, Mr. Thompson, and Lisa. Each voice added a layer to their understanding of connectedness, a recognition that they were all flawed and still capable of beautifully courageous actions. As they concluded their stories, a gentle silence enveloped them, the thread of the past transforming into the promise of a shared future. Healing will take time, but with each voice heard, they stepped into uncharted territory, an opportunity for new beginnings and heartwarming transformations. Lucas felt lighter just being there as they took hands, ready to share not just pain but a pledge of unity and friendship. It was a promise that whatever lay ahead, difficult conversations or unanswered questions, they would face it together, as family, as friends, and as survivors navigating through the unpredictability of life. Hope shone brightly in that dim room, a beacon illuminating the importance of connection, even amid chaos. They had been drawn together by fate, not as strangers bound by tragedy, but as a chosen family committed to healing and uplifting one another. Let us move forward from here, Jake said, looking at everyone with fierce loyalty. Together. And as they stepped outside the consulting room, the weight of their collective journey settled into a silver lining waiting to be unveiled. They still had challenges ahead, and the future was uncertain but brightened by the warmth of understanding. It was time to break free from the shadows as they embraced the boundless possibilities of compassion and friendship. Now united by love, they paused, and one final echo traveled softly through the hall. reminding each of them of what life could offer: the irreplaceable gift of connection. A journey waited to unfold in a world filled with love and hope. Now more than ever, it felt crucial to carry these lessons forward and share them with the world. And as the door swung open, their hearts swayed to the rhythm of a new beginning, beckoning them onward into the beauty of tomorrow. Oh, not wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to help us grow, and keep providing you with heartwarming content. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this remarkable transformation. You won't regret this moment. True fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.